Maxwell is going to be questioned by the Deputy Attorney General or the Attorney General's office for apparently the first time. The statement was made that they decided to do this, and I think that shows a few things. First of all, I think that internet backlash and people actually caring makes a difference. Of course, this isn't the finish line by any means, but I think it shows people that if you actually a little bit care about something and just don't go along with the politician, then you might get results that you might have not otherwise gotten. And then we're going to talk about this story that Obama is going to get arrested. I mean, I guess Tulsi and some of the people in Trump's deep state or Trump's cabinet are claiming that they have some smoking guns about what the Democrats did to them. And, I wish them luck. I don't personally think that they're actually going to do anything, but who knows? Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but the chances are they probably won't. So I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to show you guys what I'm thinking, and I'll probably try to make a few jokes because sometimes if you don't laugh about this stuff, you'll end up just crying. And I don't want to shed a tear on this live stream. It would be awkward for me and you. So Dream Rare Podcast starts now. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if everything sounds good. Give me a thumbs up on the video for the algorithm. Appreciate you guys, and thanks for being here.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble? We got Galazer. We got Samurai Senpai, a real life samurai in the chat. That's always fun. Scorpio, what's going on, my guy? We got Nebraska in the house. Wish I would wait 8 hours or so. You want me to just sit here and wait 8 hours? All right, we'll start the silent game now. I'll just sit here and just, 8 hours, okay? Guys, do a countdown because one guy in the chat wants me to just not say anything for 8 hours, apparently. Because in 8 hours, that's when it's really gonna, the storm's gonna hit, dude. We've been waiting 7 years. We only got a lockdown, a pharmaceutical socialist, warp speed vaccine, and 4 years of Biden tyranny. But in 8 hours, I promise you guys, the plan will be fulfilled. I'm not going to wait 8 hours. But thanks for the suggestion. Appreciate y'all. It's going to be a pretty light one because, I'm trying to just enjoy my day. But anyway, let's look at what the premise of the video is because that's probably why you're here. Maybe you're not here for that reason. Who knows? I don't know. Only you know. Only you know the truth. But here's Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General. I guess he represents Pam Bondi's office. And here's what he said about Ghislaine Maxwell and the Epstein situation. Todd said, "Justice demands courage. For the first time, the Department of Justice is reaching out to Ghislaine Maxwell to ask, what do you know? At Pam Bondi's direction, I've contacted her counsel. I intend to meet with her soon. No one is above the law and no lead is above off limits." So, this is, once again, I think shows that people actually caring matters because I don't think they would have done this if nobody said anything. Like if everyone was like, yeah, it's only the Democrats and the panicans who want Epstein disclosure. It's a Democrat hoax. It's a Democrat hoax. Let's all primary Thomas Massie so Israel can control Congress again, but then say it's anti-Semitic to say so, even though Trump said so on a podcast and he wants that to happen, but we can't say it. Anyway, it's like, okay, why did I say that again? Where was I going with that? Oh, yeah, it was like, it's just a Democrat hoax. But no, jokes aside, if everybody went along with that narrative, I don't think they would have done this. And also, this is the first time that they've ever thought to talk to Ghislaine Maxwell. If they really wanted to get to the bottom of the Epstein stuff, nobody knows better than Ghislaine Maxwell. I mean, there's the Lord knows, only the Lord knows it all. Then you have Jeffrey Epstein, who probably knows what he did. And then you have Ghislaine Maxwell, who probably knows very well what he did because she was pretty much right there most of the time. So, with all that being said, isn't it crazy that the Attorney General didn't ever even think to talk to Ghislaine Maxwell, the only living person that could actually crack the case? That just shows you how little they want to crack the case. And this is my personal theory. I mean, I can't prove this, but I think a lot of people agree because it's just my critical thinking skills. I think they think we're stupid. And I think that they do things to see like what we'll go for. So the first, thing was like the binders. They're like, let's get a bunch of influencers, Libs of TikTok, DC Drano, a few other people were there. I can't remember. I just remember that picture of them holding up the binders. And they're like, let's see if MAGA is stupid enough to fall for this. And I'm not saying the influencers necessarily knew. I'm sure that they thought they were going to get something. But, I have no idea. I wasn't there. But you get what I'm saying. It's like, here's the first line of how dumb is MAGA. And they're like, do they fall for Bindergate? No, they didn't fall for the binders. all right, we got to try something else. Let's try to say that it's only Democrats who want disclosure, and that any Republican that wants disclosure is a panicking and they're bad. They're bad. You're bad, MAGA. You're bad, dumb, selfish. You're selfish if you want Jeffrey Epstein files. Anyway, let's drop more bombs on a foreign country and just pretend that we're doing this for no reason. I'm not saying Epstein's the reason. I do think he's connected to a lot of things though, and definitely not necessarily everybody's blackmailed, but it's like there's different ways that people are compromised, whether it be through lobbyists, et cetera. And I don't think that Epstein falls too far from that tree, if that's the saying. The apple falls far from the tree, something like that. The Epstein doesn't fall far from the tree. I think that's what I remember from when I was a kid. They were like, you don't want to be like that. The Epstein doesn't fall too far from the tree. I was 5 years old. I was like, what is my teacher talking? Who's Epstein? I don't get it. I remember Shel Silverstein, though. That's a great poet. Shout out Shel Silverstein. Good man, I think. I don't know him, but I love that. His books. Anyway, I don't know. We're walking down memory lane here with my childhood. But yeah, I don't think they really care. I think they think we're stupid. And it's like they never even asked Ghislaine Maxwell questions until people on the internet got ticked off. So just to wrap it up before I get to some other stuff, I think actually caring matters. I don't think you have to get like mad or be a weirdo about it, but when you just don't go along with what MAGA's doing, like I'm a Trump supporter, I hate Thomas Massey, Operation Warp Speed save the world, trust Jeff Sessions, trust Durham, trust Lena Dunham. If you're not that type of person, they respect you and they're like, oh, maybe our base isn't really stupid. Maybe we actually do have to do a little something. Trump or what's his name? Stephen Miller tweeted the other day, he was like, this is the greatest 60 days of any presidency. And I posted it on Facebook and I was like, do you guys think this is the greatest 60 days of any presidency? And they were like, yeah, like everybody was like, yeah. I was like, better than George Washington? I would guess the first 10 presidents had better 60 days than anything Trump's ever done. It's definitely not the best 60 days I've ever seen in my lifetime from a president. Like it's not like Trump's the worst person in the world. I'm not hating on him, but it would be like watching a season from like Bradley Beal, who's like an NBA player, an all-star, but he's not Michael Jordan, and he's like, this is the best 60 days any player's ever played, and it's like, yeah, not really, I would say, or Devin Booker, or pick a player that Chris Paul. This is the best 60-day span of any NBA player of all time. It's like, no, you didn't even win a champion. What are you talking about? It's above average, I guess. It's like, it's just so stupid. I don't know. And people are like, this is the greatest 60 days of my life. That's awesome. I hope it is. But presidency wise, I don't see what's like so great. I posted something that went viral, and I made a slight error, but kind of a purposeful error. I said Democrats think that liberals think that Democrats are going to arrest Trump. Conservatives think Republicans are going to arrest Obama. They never happen. It's like WWE for people who watch too much TV. And people reminded me Trump actually got arrested. And I forgot, but also it's like I don't really consider that an arrest. I guess technically it is an arrest, like he got arrested. But to me, it's like, oh no, they put fake charges on me, and now I take a mugshot and people make billions of dollars in merchandise sales. Oh no, now I'm going to crush Ron DeSantis in the primaries even harder and max out my fundraising. Oh no. Oh no, Patriots. This is really bad. This is really bad. The really real rest of me. My fundraising is at an all-time high. Ron DeSantis now stands no chance, even though it's not because of policy, and I'm just going to lie about the vaccine constantly and say that RFK is a liar, but then I'm going to hire the guy that I've tried to fire. And now I'm making money. And if you buy a piece of my suit with an NFT and a Trump coin, you will be rich forever. You can buy it for $6,000. You can get an authentic cookie cutter cut with a scissor piece of my suit that I got arrested in. It was so real. It was so scary. I made this really sad, scary face, and it was really a tough time for me and the Patriots. We really got arrested, and it's just totally devastating that I just raised tens of millions of dollars in a day. I mean, it's just horrible to see me selling NFTs of my shirt. It's just really tough. It's a really tough, really real moment. I mean, maybe Obama will get arrested like that. They'll take a mugshot. Democrats will win the next election. They'll get a fundraiser out of it. I don't know. He definitely technically got arrested, but it's like didn't really lead to anything. It's like they got like dozens of felony charges on him. It's like he didn't really do anything. Like, how are you going to charge that? They got some low IQ prosecutor that was funded by the man who you can't name, because then they'll call you an anti-Semite, even though he funds Democrats. His name starts with G and ends with Oros, you know? But you're like, hey, this billionaire funds Democrats. They're like, that's the most anti-Semitic thing I've ever heard since 5 seconds ago when I called in something else anti-Semitic. It's like, what am I don't know what to say. Sometimes I wish George Soros was Mexican or Italian, because then nobody would accuse me of hate speech when I say he funds Democrats. It's not that I care what ethnicity is, but it's like, if like Fauci, people will say I'm anti-science, but they'll never say I'm anti-Italian. They're like, oh, you just talk about George Soros because of his ethnicity. It's like, oh yeah, and I just hate Fauci because he makes a really good pasta carbonara. It's just my hate in my heart, because he just, he makes chicken parmesan that's just better than mine, and I'm just so jealous of Anthony Fauci and his plethora of vaccines. But speaking of the Trump arrest, I had to do this because it's just fun for me, and I apologize if you enjoyed this. I appreciate it. I'm having a fun time too. If you don't, I'm not sorry, but I wish you could enjoy your experience better. But do you guys remember trust Jeff Sessions and trust Durham? There was this, this guy who like no one even knew or seen. I'm still not convinced he's a real person. I mean, I'm sure he is, but I've never seen a video of this guy. Listen, Patriots, you have to trust Durham or Lena Dunham. This is Lena Dunham in a face mask. Lena Dunham's gonna beat the deep state, beat up the deep derp. We're gonna derp the deep state with Durham. Durham's gonna arrest 50,000 sealed indictments for Obama and Chrissy Teigen and maybe John Legend. He's in there too. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. And then we're gonna lock down the country. So then when the country gets locked down by pharmaceutical communism, you're all going to think it's a good thing. And then you're going to think that this is when the pedos are going to get arrested. But really, I'm just going to arrest average workers who are trying to keep the restaurant open. But if you're really patient and you really just ignore your eyes and your ears and your common sense and your logic and your right and left brain for that matter, then we will arrest Chrissy Teigen when it really matters in the lockdown of Guantanamo, Italy. Italy's lockdown. Italian police are coming for the Vatican. And I'm like, guys, the whole country's locked down, not Italy. They're like, shut up, Anomaly. You don't understand. You didn't read the anonymous message board, and your IQ's not under 80. It's like, all right. I mean, I'm against lockdowns, but if you think they're good because you trust a guy that you've never seen and you're not even sure if he's real, I mean, it's one strategy. And then before that, this was the worst one. It was like, trust Jeff Sessions, bro. Trust God. Trust your family members that are trustworthy. Trust yourself if you're not a liar. Trust Jeff Sessions? Yeah, that's what we're doing now? Anomaly, you don't understand. If you look at Jeff Sessions, I mean, he looks like a leprechaun from one of those casino games, and he's got really, really beady eyes, and he's a politician and somewhat of a lawyer. If you can't trust a beady-eyed lawyer in this world, what are you, not a real patriot? You don't trust Jeff Sessions? You don't trust Jeff Sessions to beat up the deep state when we're not looking, because I read an anonymous message, an anonymous person on a message board where literally anyone can post anything at any time. If you don't believe that's the government, it's like, let's just say it was the government. Now you trust the government. It's like, oh, but the person posting works for the Trump administration. Probably not. But if they did, that's all it takes. It's like, someone in the government telling you something on a message board and now you believe them. It's like, dude, Lindsey Graham works for the government. He could be, it's not him, but it's just like, I'm not trying to pick on people, because I know there's probably some people here who are like, yeah, I fell for it, but not anymore. I never fell for it. Not for one day, not for 1 second. It just was always so obvious to me. I'm like, I don't get. They're like, but the plane matches Jeff Sessions' beady leprechaun eyes. And if you can't trust a lawyer politician, who the hell can you trust? Yeah. Anyway, it's pretty funny stuff. With that being said, go on to the next topic, but I think that it's good that they're asking questions to Ghislaine Maxwell. The more people care, the more they'll actually do. And I think that it's a good sign. And, there's like levels to how stupid we are. So I think if we actually keep paying attention and just being reasonable, they'll keep having to do more stuff for us. I think that's like the whole dynamic between government. So, I would appreciate if all the patriots actually paid attention and didn't just worship Donald Trump, I think we'd get more results. So good on the attorney general for actually looking into this. Crazy that they never looked into it before. And I think this is strictly a result of people paying attention. If people didn't pay attention, it would have ended at the binder gates. With that being said, the Obama stuff, I think the journalistic smart thing to do, if I actually wanted to waste 3 hours of my time over something that no one's going to care about in 3 months, I would really look into everything they're saying about Obama, but I just don't feel like I need to because, one, this is not like this deep diving piece I'm doing. Also, it's like I know Obama is a puppet. The Democrat deep state is corrupt, and that both parties locked the country down, which I think should be highly illegal, but nobody even got in trouble for it. So I feel like at this point, I don't care about looking at all the files. It's just like, show me actual results, and then I'll actually care about something. I don't need to do waste my life doing like a deep dive. Well, Clapper and Comey and Brennan. Dude, I already know they all suck. I already know they're all sneaky. I already know that we don't have the same agenda, probably. I mean, hopefully we all like America because we all live here and, they serve it in the government. But as far as like what they did and what they're doing, like they did nothing during lockdowns. They did nothing during vaccine mandates. So I already have no respect for these, communities that are supposed to protect us. With that being said, it's like, what is Trump going to do? What is Tulsi Gabbard going to do? I'm not really sure, but I just I don't see them actually doing anything. And if they do, I'd love to be happily surprised. So it's like, I'm not gonna like dive into all this stuff. Just let me know when someone actually gets held accountable that did something really bad, and then I'll be paying attention. I saw Matt Walsh post that on Twitter. He's like, until you guys actually arrest somebody, it doesn't really matter. And I think that's pretty much the proper take. Like it's hard to selectively trust government ever and actually think they're going to do something because there's so many. I'm not saying what the deep state did isn't bad, but there's so many bad things that have been done that they're not talking about. Like, I think lockdowns were bad. I think they physically, psychologically, and mentally abused the entire nation for 3 years. I think they destroyed an entire younger generation. They're probably going to be like mentally unstable for the rest of their lives. I think even my generation, doesn't matter what age you were, like I think psychologically the COVID lockdown took some sort of mental toll on everybody, and I think it altered us in a way. In some ways, I'm sure people enjoyed the time off, but it was just such a weird time. For me, I'm a very, normally I don't really get stressed out, but I feel like during COVID, I couldn't be that like unstressed because everybody was yelling at me all the time. Like everywhere I went, people acted like I was robbing the place when I just wanted to give them my service. Like, why are you in my restaurant? Why are you here? I was like in public, I had to pee. They're like, you can't use my bathroom. Why can't I use the bathroom? Does COVID only spread in a bathroom, but I could sit in this chair? Like, it was so stupid. I mean, it really bothered me. And I think it took it took a massive like physical and mental toll on me just having to deal with all these idiots that like were just shilling like mandates and stupid rules that made no sense. And everywhere I went, I felt like I had to look over my shoulder because like everyone was mad at me just for like walking down the street. So what I'm saying is like, is anybody looking into that? Is Tulsi Gabbard looking into that? Is Trump looking into that? Is anybody in the Trump's deep state looking like that? So I'm not saying we can't take any good news, but it's like, what are they mad at Obama and Clapper and Brennan for? It's not that, because they were not doing much during that time either. So it's like, out of every evil thing the government's ever done and all of the people that they hurt in so many ways, including like foreign wars where they're just bombing the shit out of civilians, or, America, I think, has more respect than to just like massively constantly bomb civilians, but we give weapons to countries that have no problem just killing a bunch of people in an aid line. And even though we don't agree with that morally as a country and we don't do that much of atrocities, we fund those atrocities and play stupid. So we might as well be doing them because we're complicit, and nobody's going to get charged for that, So it's like, what are they mad at Obama and Clapper for I guess, staging the Russia collusion, which led to the war in Russia, which then Trump now agrees with them on? You know what I'm saying? Like the whole Russia collusion narrative, if that's even what this is about, and like all the ways they tried to frame and set up Trump, they were trying to push Trump into siding with Ukraine in the war and getting the war started that the deep state was working on, including Lindsey Graham and others, for a decade. Now Trump endorses Lindsey Graham. Now Trump, he ran on the premise of ending the war in Ukraine, and saying that Zelensky doesn't have the cards. Now he's flipping on Putin and he's funding Zelensky and he's saying that it's Russia's fault now. So it's like the thing that they're even mad at Democrats for doing, Trump is also now doing. It's hard for me to think like Trump is this rogue outsider that just really disagrees with him, where the whole setup on Donald Trump was not only to make him look crazy, but it was to guide his foreign policy in the direction of the deep state's foreign policy, which Trump's foreign policy almost identically matches now. For a decade, the deep state, or decades longer, the deep state wanted to push every politician into starting a war with Iran, something that Trump resisted or tried to resist in his first term. Now he's just really on board. I mean, he gives us these moments where he's like, Israel, okay, Iran, they don't know what the frick they're doing, okay? Like he gives us those Zoolander moments so we can all, shout out to Owen Benjamin, who always said that Trump sounds like Zoolander, and he totally does. Like he does sound like Zoolander. Like if you remember how Zoolander looked, that's how Trump sounds. Like that's the easiest way. He just says like words like multiple times. So just be like, I'm really, 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 really strong and really big. It's so Zoolander. But it's just that like he pointed that out years ago, and it's like, yeah, no, he does literally sound like Zoolander. But it's just like this acting thing for the masses where he's like, I'm mad at Zelensky. Now I'm mad at Putin. Now I'm mad at Zelensky again, but I'm still really, really good looking. And you're like, yeah, I mean, what? And people are like, look, he stuck it to Zelensky. Dude, he didn't do anything. He stuck it to Zelensky and then he gave more weapons to him. So, I just think maybe they'll go after Obama's deep state, but I don't see it. I don't really see it. And I find the false left or right paradigm fascinating because when it comes to like countries people are working for, the left will say the Republicans are working for Russia. The right will say the Democrats are working for China. But the country that they're both really working for, nobody ever talks about because it's the same with the Epstein situation. It's like if Trump was complicit, then the Democrats would have shown the info. Yeah, but they're also in the info. So why would they show themselves? That would be like revealing their character to the world. So you understand it's the same thing with like the country that we all know that Congress seems to be working for the most. No one ever talks about it except for the people that are getting primaried out of Congress, like Thomas Massey. So it just seems so obviously fake to me. But who knows? I mean, Trump did a few things. He did tariffs or something. It's like, and then with our greatest ally, people are like, they're our ally. Canada's our ally. It doesn't stop Trump from trying to literally steal their country. Trump's like, I'm going to take your entire country, which in some ways I think is hilarious because it's just kind of funny. But they're an ally. They're right north of us. We've never been beefing with Canada, and Trump's trying to steal their whole nation. If Trump can steal their nation, he can cut funding to Israel. Not that he's going to. I'm just saying it's like we can shit on our other allies and raise tariffs and make them hate us, but we can't challenge one of our allies that we do wars for. It's just ridiculous. And, to be honest, I'm not like a huge Canada fan. I like Canadians, but as far as like the country, I'm American. I don't really like how he handled Canada because to me, it's like if you raise tariffs on them, tariff war is one thing, but just shitting on a country and making them hate you, it's only going to lose business for America because now in Canada, they're, in a way, it might help them be more nationalistic, which might be a good thing for them in the world, where they're like, you know what, maybe we shouldn't do so much business with America. Maybe we shouldn't trust America. The way Trump operates, like he's like a clown. He's constantly bashing every country except for the country he works for, which is not America, but sort of. It's like to me, I'd be like, hey, we have to do this, but we respect your alliance, but we're not pushovers. Trump's just like, I'm going to steal your country. You're a governor. You work for us. So now I feel like over the next 10 years, Canada is going to focus on themselves. They're not going to do much business with America, and they're going to find ways to do business with other countries they trust more than Trump. So it's like, I'm not anti-tariff in the sense of like, I get there's pros and cons to it. But the one con I think is just Trump is acting like a goofball. And if you isolate a lot of countries from America and make them hate us, then we're going to lose business over time. But this is big boy stuff. They do sanctions, there's wars, there's all sorts of games being played. It's a little bit above my pay grade. That's just my unprofessional quarterback, sideline quarterback thoughts about it all. Is I'm not like a huge fan of how he's going about it. Just not just what he's doing, but how he's acting. I feel like it's a little goofy and counterproductive to America. Like, in 10 years, you're going to see a lot less business going through America. And why would a country trust us when they're like, tariff on, tariff off, tariff on, tariff? It's just like, all right, let's do business with Europe. Let's do business with, I'm sure even countries will go to China or Russia, or even countries that we don't want them to go to, just because they're like, all right, at least they're not going to like hit us with like a 50% tax and try to destroy our business overnight, then take it off and put it on. It's got to be stressful. I mean, I don't do that type of business, but you get it. That's just my opinion. Pam Bondi has a fold-up card table, not a desk. Pam Bondi actually lives in an oversized Polly Pocket house, like those ones that little girls used to play with. Pam Bondi has a giant Polly Pocket house that she walks into, and that's where she no, I'm just making stuff up. I don't know. I thought it was funny, but anyway. Someone said, I can't imagine any country trusting us again. Remember our Iran diplomacy backstab? Yeah, we're not, we're not the best at keeping treaties, but we do have we have cool music and stuff, and we're cool. Hey, world, it's your buddy America. We're still cool, Don't hate us. We got American football, and basketball stars and stuff like that, and hamburgers, don't you guys like cheeseburgers? Come on, don't forget about your friend America. What else do we have? We have cool stuff. We have good comedians, Tim Dillon's pretty funny. I mean, Shane Gillis did a good job at the ESPYs. I don't know. There's a lot of reasons to not hate America. Sorry, the rest of the world. I'm not trying to be like a liberal. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for Trump. It's not even that. It's just like, I think he's funny. I'm not a big fan of like how the tariffs are going. What do I suggest you do as an opinion? I think people need to like enjoy their lives, try to be mentally and physically healthy. You know what I'm saying? And when you're the best version of yourself, I think you can do the best version of your work and improve the world by improving yourself. So I wouldn't worry about it. But like I said, like my like non-hippie answer, even though that's what I really believe, is if you do like politics, if you like watching my channel, if you like watching other people's channel, if it's genuinely something you're passionate about and you don't find it stressful and you find it fun, don't stress out about politics, but just pay attention. Like I said with the early thing, the silver lining is like people actually caring and paying attention. That's what made them do more. They're just hoping we're stupid. So it's like if collectively we're not stupid, which is happening over time, people are getting a little bit wittier. They do a little bit more for us because they're like, oh, shoot, they're not falling for it. So that's why, in a way, Trump is like the best and worst thing for politics. Let me explain this. He did a lot of great things and woke people up and made it interesting and spoke a lot of truth. But also Trump is like the one thing holding people back sometimes because it's like everybody just trusts him. Like without this, like, Linus security blanket, a lot of people would be demanding a little bit more. So it's like, Trump has everybody wrapped around his finger. And in many ways, that's not a good thing. It's like if Lindsey Graham were president and he's like, the Epstein, you're a panicking, you'd be like, yeah, shut up, Lindsey Graham. We don't trust you. We don't believe you. We're going to boo you every time you speak publicly until you do what we want. And then he'd be forced to do it, or someone else would come along that was better. With Trump, it's like people trust him too much. And it's like he's the only one who could get away with all this stuff. So I see in a weird way, I think he's better than Biden and Kamala. But I also think he's not really a threat to the deep state. He's almost like their best asset because the people who are going to change America for the better at this point, no offense, liberals, but you need to wake up and be classic liberals. But it's going to be Republicans, conservatives, independents, libertarians, people who are a little bit more understanding of why we need the government away from us, or at least why we need to reform our government to some extent in the right direction, which is the way I just said, not to the left, in my opinion. So they know that these are the people that they need to keep at bay. So Trump keeps these people at bay for the most part. That's why it's this whole Epstein thing. It's so powerful because for the first time pretty much ever, Trump is getting ratioed and he's looking stupid. So people don't remember this, but during the primary, the whole thing that kept Trump afloat was like that Alvin Bragg arrest. That's why I kind of make fun of it, because it's like Trump was looking really stupid. All the mainstream influencers were turning against him, like Tim Pool. All of these people were out. Even Steven Crowder, they were saying like DeSantis is doing a better job. I'm not saying to trust DeSantis, but for the first time in his career, Trump actually had pressure to speak more truth about the vaccine and such. And then him getting arrested was the thing that kind of saved him. And everybody overnight was like, now we need to trust Trump because he's getting arrested. It never really made sense. I'm not asking you to vote for DeSantis, but the whole shift of like, we have to stop questioning Trump now and rally behind him. that was all manufactured, in my opinion, by the arrest. So I don't think it was random, and I find it not coincidental. So it's like a lot of people were delusional about Trump, even though he gave them no reason to actually trust him. He gave you a reason to vote for him, but not to trust him. And everybody just trusted him. And it wasn't until the Epstein stuff that like people snapped out of it and they were like, wait, Trump's lying to us. Wait, we should challenge Trump. Challenging Trump is a good thing. It should have never stopped. And even though I wanted him to win over Kamala, I feel like this is what people need to do. So this moment was always going to come because people were attributing false trust to Trump just because he got arrested and shot at. And then that made people like really like people were rallying behind him just when he got arrested. It was like, don't challenge him. He's our guy. He's our hero. Then when he got shot, it was like, oh shit. Like even I was like, yeah, this guy's got to be president. I already wanted him to be president. And I already like, it's like, if anything, I want him to win, but it's like, if he loses, I want him to lose, not get shot. So it's like, of course I was behind Trump, but I knew it wasn't like I need to worship Trump for 7 years now because this happened. It's like, dude, I feel bad for him if it was real. And, I pray for the guy. But at the same time, it's like he's still the vaccine salesman. He's still Operation Warp Speed Daddy. He's Grandpa APAC, the vaccine salesman. He's Mr. Epstein panicking. It's a Epstein hoax. He's Mr. Endorsed Lindsey Graham. Like this guy is not to be trusted. So long story short, what do I think people can do I think people are doing the right thing. Peaceful, rational. Don't act crazy because when you act crazy, then people ignore you. Some people are like, oh, then it's like nobody listens to you. But if you can come reasonably ratioing politicians, making everybody look stupid and using the leverage we have, which is social capital, then they'll do more. So, I think that is the solution. So Trump, in many ways, he's great, but it's like at a certain point, people need to eventually move on from him and not worship the next politician. Like I want Trump to serve out his term, but I'm excited for the next moment because let's just say JD Vance wins. I'm hoping people don't like JD Vance as much as they like Trump. So then they actually challenge him. I'm not mad at Trump. It's just like Trump is so good at just brainwashing people. Like imagine if JD Vance endorsed Lindsey Graham. Everybody would be like, he's corrupt. But when Trump does it, people like, dude, nothing tells me who you are more than endorsing Lindsey Graham, telling people Epstein is a Democrat hoax, and trying to get Thomas Massie out of Congress with the Republican Jewish coalition and AIPAC. Like Trump kind of sucks. He said on a podcast, people miss this, but I play it all the time. He said that Israel used to literally own Congress, and he's upset that they don't anymore. Like everything you need to know about Trump is all there, just waiting for people to pay attention. And I'm not asking people to hate Trump. Personally, I'm not like the biggest fan of him right now, but I'm not asking you to be hungry and angry. I'm not asking you to be angry. I'm not asking you to stress out. I'm not asking you to be flustered or like emotional. Be calm, be rational, have fun with it when you can, but challenge Donald Trump. That's the only solution on our side, because when we do that, they have to do stuff. And Trump is the ultimate gaslighter. He's like, inflation's gone. This is the greatest 60 days. I mean, inflation's like on its way down, but the inflation that already hit is never going to leave. And it's not just Joe Biden. It was also you during COVID. So like the gaslighting's astronomical. Trump wants you to think you're living in like the golden age of America, and the cities are still falling apart and prices are still really high. And there's still a lot of work to do. It's not to say he's doing the worst job, but there's a lot of work to do. Someone said, get it together anomaly. Okay, Heidi, it's your show now. What do you think I should get together, and what am I doing wrong? You're Heidi. You know what's best. It's your show now. I'll read your next comment. Maria Cruz said, this is the best food for my brain today. Well, thank you, Maria. I appreciate you. And thank you for being cooler than Heidi. I'm just kidding, Heidi. You might be cool too. Sorry. I'm so annoyed. I might try to like do a stand-up in a second. Just sitting down for long periods of time is annoying, but it's okay. Someone said, football and life, it doesn't matter who president is, wake up. I think it's good to pay attention and care a little bit, but you don't get stressed out. If you're letting it stress you out and you're letting it like run you in circles, then it's better to not pay attention to politics. Like that's not good for my business to tell people that, but it's like, it's only good if you're having fun with it and you're not stressing yourself out and you're not getting tricked all the time. If you're like a liberal activist, you're like, I've cared about politics for 10 years. Yeah, but you've been wrong about 95% of stuff. So you're just wasting your time. Like, it's not good to pay attention when you're wrong. Even as a Republican, like if you're constantly just getting tricked and duped and pissed off, it's like, what's the point? You might as well just like do something you enjoy, in my opinion. even for me, you notice I'm doing less videos. I'm trying to find, I need to be mentally and physically healthy in order to do a good job. But also I'm just trying to like figure out what I actually want to do. Cause it's like, I do enjoy reacting to stuff, but it gets exhausting. Even like Scotty Scheffler, he said something before he won the Open Championship, and they asked him about golf, and he's like, you know what? It's not as fun as people think. Like it is, but he goes, God, my family, my kids matter, because at the end of the day, he goes, I win a tournament, I'm pumped up for 2 minutes, and then it's on to the next tournament, and then I got to compete for that one. And it's like, it sounds, some people might be like, oh, he's just saying that, but it's really true. And I'm not Scotty Scheffler. I don't have nearly as many golf champions. I have no golf championships. I suck at golf, but you get what I'm saying. I'm not comparing myself to him because I think he's done a lot of accomplishments. But in general, I get what he's saying, because that's bothering me too. Like I've done videos my whole life, but now because social media demands more, I can't just do one video a week and put my all into it. Like the financial incentive's not there, and I don't have the business model for it. And also, it's just not the way social media works. You'll fall behind. So it's like, it's the same thing with me, where it's like, it started getting not fun for the videos, because it's like, I used to enjoy the results. I used to enjoy the comments and the likes and I still enjoy live streams. Like I'm having a good time today, but at a certain point, it's just like next, and then it just never ends. So it's like, it's not even fun doing videos when I have to do 15 a week or 10 a week or 5 a week. There's no joy in it. So there's a lot of jobs that suck. So I'm not trying to act like I'm the victim. I'm just trying to figure out how I can do this, because it's always evolving. And now they just want you to just keep pumping out stuff. And it's, I'm just trying to figure out the right way to do it. Today with Julius, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. He said, Trump's new name is Donald Epstein, Moderna lockdown, Israel, Trump. Dude, it's a long name. It's his Islamic name. You know how they have like 8 names sometimes? No, I'm just kidding. But Donald Epstein, Moderna lockdown, Israel, Trump. It's a long one, but anything's possible. Listen, okay, Julius, I used to like you, okay? You used to be a really good person for Trump. Trump likes all people, okay? You could have came to the White House when your people were there, okay? I like it. I like you. But now that you're pushing the Epstein hoax, okay, Julius, you're getting tricked by Obama and Clapper and Brennan, okay? John Brennan made you think you care about Epstein, okay? If you were a good patriot, Julius, you would endorse Lindsey Graham. You would get really angry at Thomas Massey because he serves America, not Israel. And you would stop it with that anti-Semitism, okay? Julius, I wish I could deport you, but I can't. If I could, I would. I'd deport you, but I can't deport you. So I'm just going to deport legal college students who never committed a crime, who wrote op-eds about Israel, because I could do that somehow, even though it's still kind of not legal. But, I'm going to do that instead of deporting illegals. I'm going to deport legal citizens or legal non-citizens who just criticize Israel in a college paper, because that's really mean. My donors hate it, and I hate when you hate it, okay? Thank you, Julius. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Thank you. Appreciate it. True Social, Donald J. Trump. Buy my NFT or you're a Democrat. I posted something the other day on Twitter, and someone was like, oh, yeah, your boy Obama's about to get arrested, Anomaly. I'm like, my boy Obama? First of all, I don't like Obama. Second of all, he's not getting arrested. So it's like, yeah, if you don't agree with everything Trump says, you're best friends with Obama. It's like, is that how it works? If that's the case, like, I guess I missed my invite, but you question Trump one time and you're just best friends with Obama. It's like, all right. I have every Trump NFT. Okay, I'm the real patriot, not you, Anomaly. I bought a piece of his like little jacket that he wore for the arrest picture. They cut it into a square, and I bought it for $5,000. I'm a real patriot, and I won a raffle to possibly have a dinner with Don Jr. for $4,000. It's like, all right, you win. You're the real patriot, not me. Okay. Trust Lena Dunham or Lena Durham. Listen, patriots, you have to trust Lena Dunham. This is Lena Dunham wearing a John Legend Epstein skin suit, okay? This is Lena Dunham, and she is Durham. Lena Dunham is Durham, okay? It's confusing, but if you read every post of the message board, if you ignore everything that matters in life, if you stop working, if you ignore your children, if you don't ever, pay attention or read a book or do anything for enjoyment, you just dive deep in the message boards for 15 years straight, you will see that Lena Dunham is Durham, and you have to trust Durham and trust Jeff Sessions, okay? Sessions. Now I'll break it down for you, Patriots. We're gonna get to why you should trust Lena Dunham or Lena Durham or Jeff Durham or John Durham. Is it John? Let me know. Lena Durham is Jeff Dunham. Jeff Dunham, the comedian with the puppet, get it? Puppet. There's a lot of puppets in Congress. John Durham. Think about Durham. Think about the name. Durham. Ham. You eat ham with eggs. What lays an egg? Chicken. Who's a chicken hawk? Ben Shapiro. Who else is named Shapiro? Josh Shapiro. Is that a coincidence that there's a Democrat named Shapiro and a Republican? Coincidence, Patriots? Coincidence? What's in the word coincidence? Coin. COINTELPRO. I mean, professional basketball player. LeBron James, went for Hillary Clinton. Also, Bill Clinton played the saxophone. Who else played the saxophone? Kenny G. Kenny G's JFK Jr. in a skin suit. And if you don't believe that, you're an anti-Semite. It's that easy, Patriots. You just got to connect the dots. And if you can't see it, you're just not smart enough to understand QAnon. Julius said, laugh, LMAO, well-deserved super chat. Thank you, Julius. I worked hard for that $20. Now I got 40. That just shows you what hard work can do. But during 2020, there were so many people that weren't as smart as me telling me how much smarter they were. Like I've never gone around and unsolicited for no reason just been like, you're not smart. Like I could be talking to the dumbest person I've ever talked to, and I'm not going to be like, you're not smart enough to understand what I understand. It's just such a douchey way to interact with other humans. But people that I know for a fact probably had a sub 80 IQ. They're like, you're just not smart enough to understand. I'm like, oh yeah, that's it. My IQ score is just so low that I just can't fathom the public anonymous message board posters that literally the dumbest people I know believe. That's good times. And by good times, I mean not that good times. But, there's always a silver lining in those times, I guess, for certain people. Someone said, happy to see you doing a live stream. YouTube was beginning to get boring. Yeah, I want to have fun. I had a great time today, but other times I try to just do live streams all the time just to work. But if I'm not in a good mood, I feel like it's just okay. I can always get the information across for the most part, but sometimes I just I don't know, I'm not having fun, and then it becomes not that fun. And I'm not saying everything's always going to be fun, but I think it's funnier when it is. You can, there's different ways to do different things, but I'm enjoying today. Let's just put it that way. William said they should call you Mr. Fantastic because you could stretch with the best of them. Is this a stretch joke? Are you saying I'm flexible, or you saying I'm stretching the truth? Or I'm confused now. I thank you. It's funny, but it just went over my head. I'm too stupid to understand. I need to study the message boards. I get it. I just don't know if you're mad or happy. You're reaching, or you're reaching in a funny way. Anyway, it doesn't matter either way. Someone said, I used to shake my head in grade school. I'm not going to read that whole comment, but okay. Someone said, Trump used the auto pen to draw the pictures and signatures. Everyone's a liar except for Trump. Trump doesn't use an auto pen. He uses his massive, huge, the best golfer hands in the world to write it. He's like, I don't use the auto pen, okay? I use my big, beautiful hands. My hands are big. They're smooth and soft, but they're also really hard because I worked really hard with my hands. But I didn't. But they're really soft and hard at the same time. The doctor says it's a miracle. He says it's the best, biggest, strongest man hands he's ever seen. I don't know. That's where the pen comes from. I don't use the auto pen. It's Obama. Obama wants you to not talk about Jeffrey Epstein. Obama wants you to be like, oh, I really care who he worked for and what he was doing. It's Obama. Okay, Patriots, you gotta buckle in with MAGA and endorse Lindsey Graham and say the vaccine saved 100 million lives. That's what you got to do, or else you're not a real patriot. And also you got to, buy whatever he emails you. He's like, oh, I got a mugshot. Now I have a shirt with my mugshot on it for $60. You got to buy it. I got to do it, or else the Democrats are going to beat me up. They're like, all right, well, that's one way for sure. Someone said, yeah, definitely missed your lives. LOL. Last couple weeks have been hot and blah. Summer's getting to me for sure. I don't know, the heat. Dude, I went live one time and I canceled it, and people were like, some guy in the comments was like, you did that because of my comment. I was like, don't flatter yourself, buddy. I didn't even see your comment. I tried to do a live stream in 93-degree heat without my AC on. I was like, you know what? The AC makes too much noise. I don't want it to pick up on the mic. And like 10 minutes into the stream, I was like sweating and I just like had a panic attack. I was like, bro, I can't be live in front of like, I think there were like 1,000 people there too. But it was a Sunday, and usually I work on Sundays, but I try not to like live stream on Sundays and be like a normal person. But I don't know. It seemed like a big moment. And I was like, that's the problem with this job. Not to complain, but it's like, let me get it done ASAP because everything's so timed. And then it's like, nobody will care in 3 days. And I want to talk about it. But it was like bad timing. And I was like sweating. I was like, I got to get off this live stream. And then someone's like, it's because of my really cool comment. I'm like, bro, you're not that important. I mean, some of you are that important, but it's like, oh yeah, your live stream, I've been streaming hundreds of times and people have said all sorts of things, but your comment is the one that shut my stream down. Sure. Not, flatter yourself if you want, but that's not it. Someone said big, beautiful moment. It was, some say, the biggest and most beautiful moment. When am I going to run for office? I don't like politics. I'm going to run from office. My goal is to, in the next like 10 years, I don't want to set too high of expectations, but I want to get married. I want to have kids. I want to make so much money that I don't ever have to work again. And then I don't want to work again. And I want to do something in the real world. I think, I want to do something that that doesn't have to do with me sitting on the computer for 10 hours. So my goal is not to run for office. My goal is not to do this forever. I mean, I enjoy it and I'm grateful, but, I just want to max out my potential for a few years, make a lot of money, and then just never have to do this again. That's kind of my goal. Not just do that. Like if that were my only goal, then it's like I would have already had enough to retire, because there's ways I think I could have got it if I would have sacrificed and compromised. So it's not like that's my only goal. Obviously, I want to be authentic, never sell you products I don't believe in, never lie, stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I like sometimes I'm like, what's stopping me from quitting and just being like a whitewater rafting instructor? I mean, I guess what's stopping me is the fact that I don't know how to whitewater raft, but I could learn it. Like sometimes I just want to do something like that. Like I like tennis and basketball. I think I would enjoy being a tennis coach or a ping pong coach or something. A ping pong coach is random, but you get what I'm saying? I've been on the computer for 20 years now. It's just, I'm burnt out. I don't enjoy it. I like live streaming. I like certain aspects of my job. When I go out at events and like everybody comes up to me and says they like me and wants to take pictures. I mean, I'm very grateful for all of the things that I've gotten because of this. It's just being on the computer and indoors all the time is just really starting to take a toll on me, and just being alone a lot. Like, in order to get everything I've had to get done, I've had to isolate myself. Like in college, I had friends, I had roommates and stuff, but in order to be successful with rap, I would constantly have to just go off on my own and isolate myself for 5 hours and do stuff. And, it worked out. And, for a while it's been great, but, it's just at a certain point, it just burns me out. So, get a job throwing garbage. I worked for a town one time. I don't remember. I know I worked with the garbage guys, but I'm trying to think what I did in town. I didn't do the garbage. Oh yeah. I worked, I cleaned pools. So I was like, I went in, I cleaned the pools, I cleaned the area. I guess I threw out the garbage while I was in the trash guy. I've had like normal jobs. I've been a farmer. I cleaned up pools. I was a dishwasher. I worked at the supermarket as a cashier. I did overnight stocking at the supermarket. I've been people's assistants. I worked at advertising agencies, social media. I've been a social media manager. I've done blue collar jobs. I've done labor jobs. I've done overnight jobs. I farmed. I've done a little bit of everything. I think that's why, I am the way I am. I think if I was born like with everything handed to me, then I probably wouldn't be, I don't know. I would just be a different person. So, I moved to LA when I was 23. My mom, my dad, they never gave me a single dollar. I never asked for money. After my rap deal, like I had a deal where I basically got to live for free. Once that kind of fell through and it wasn't like a long-term solution, I just immediately got jobs. I took the bus, I took the train. I was broke. I was living paycheck to paycheck my entire life, basically, until I was like 29, maybe 30. So, I think all that experience made me who I am. And it makes me even more bougie now, because I feel like I just don't want to go back. Like I no offense, but like I don't want to go back to the bus stop. I don't want to go back to Los Angeles. I've done that. I mean, farming is really hard labor. I have a family member who's a farmer, actually. I don't talk about my family that much, but It's very hard labor, and I respect farmers a lot. I did it for a summer. It's probably the hardest thing I've done. That and overnight stocking, just because the hours, you have to like work at night and sleep during the day. That throws your whole life off. But farming like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. just in the sun all day, it's not for the weak. How old am I now? How old do I look like I am? We can do guesses. I mean, there's probably a way to find out, but I'm 35. Let's not guess. Okay, I just told you, 35 years old. Israel's hiring. They're always hiring. No, I mean, I don't know what they're doing, but God bless them. But yeah, I'm not interested in a free trip. I've been offered the free trip. Everybody, you're not in Republican media if you haven't been offered a free trip to Israel. I had the wherewithal to just not go though. Even before I knew that much, it was just like I got offered to not just fly to Israel, but to fly to Israel to meet with the Knesset. Like, if someone would have just offered me a free trip, like, hey, do you want to go to Israel? We'll give you a tour, and you just be an influencer. I might have said yes, because I was like, yeah, I want to go to Israel. That sounds cool. But they asked me, they said, do you want to go to Israel with this person, this person, and this person, and then we'll meet with the Knesset of Israel, which is their government. And I was like, no, that doesn't sound fun or relaxing. Like, I'd rather just go as a tourist than. Why would I go? Why would I fly and meet with the government? I don't know. Red flags were popping up in my head, even though I wanted to go to Israel at the time. So luckily they overpitched. If they would have underpitched, I probably would have went. Maybe it would have been a good time, but I don't know. Some people seem to say that they tell you to post a lot. Like Bobby Lee said he went, and they were post now 3 times a day or whatever. I don't want to be hassled. That would probably weird me out. You have to post right now or something. I don't know. Not for me, but to each their own. Someone said Glasshouse Farms got raided. The owners are not Israelis, like its biggest competition. Are you trying to say you think that's why they got raided? I mean, I don't know anything about them or who their competition is or who owns it, so I don't want to really speak on it, but anything's possible, I guess. Ghislaine Maxwell, she's going to be like, I worked by myself. Jeffrey Epstein never harmed a soul. No, I don't know what she's going to say, but I mean, at least they're trying something or pretending to try. The only reason they're even pretending to try or trying is because people care. And I want to say this too, real quick, as a sign of inspiration. When you see certain things in government or certain organizations that you don't like, understand this. Everybody is not bad there. It's there's a lot of everybody just follows the herd. Look at COVID. There's people that never got a dollar out of it that were just going along with the herd. Herd mentality is real. So that's why sometimes people are a little too, and I'm not saying you should pessimistic in a bad way, oh, you're bad for not believing this, but sometimes people think everybody's in on it in the sense of they're all compromised or they're all blackmailed. Some people are just followers, that COVID, it's 1% of people made all the money, 10% of people had actual stake in it, and then 80% of people just listen because they're followers. A lot of this is that too. So it's when you get a lot of people to not follow and a lot of people to question this stuff, that's when the herd starts moving. And not everybody in government's bad, and not everybody in government is in with Epstein. A lot of them are, or at least enough where they're not trying to look into it. But the more people actually make Trump have to care, you might have certain employees of the government that might get access to certain things that they don't want to have access to things because they're not compromised by the Epstein orbit. You understand what I'm saying? It's not 100% to zero. It's just the 1% controls a lot, the banks, the big politicians who actually are the puppets of the bankers and that such. And then you have the people just sway back and forth. So that's why it's important to stand your ground, because I think there will be things that help us. Even in the first JFK files, there were a lot of things that helped us, I think, as a nation. Trump released the JFK files during his first term, and I don't know if it was a FOIA request or Trump just released them on his own, but if it was him, he deserves credit. If it was FOIA, they were forced to do it. But either way, Tom Fitton seems to be really helpful with that stuff. But anyway, during the first term, the JFK files said that the CIA was willing to blow up a boatload of Cubans, real or simulated, or put some sort of bomb in Miami in order to blame Cuba to accomplish their goals. So now it's not just like there's so many examples of false flags that are real. The Levant affair, that, I'm sure you guys can think of other ones in history. So it's like it goes from a conspiracy theory to now provable. So, it's not going to change the whole world, but the fact that that is disclosed to the public gives people a lot of leverage to be like, yeah. And even though America is in many ways corrupt, it still is a more organized country than most people. We still do have a good constitution. Our court system is corrupt, but better than a lot of countries. So like FOIA is a really amazing thing about America. The Freedom of Information Act, the fact that, Tom Fitton and people like him can sue and get a lot of this information sometimes, the fact that, there is some sort of disclosure, the fact that we do have the freedom of speech, like as crazy as America is and as corrupt as it is and as worth changing as it is in many ways, because like we need to upgrade a lot of stuff in America, it's still like we're still a very blessed nation, and we're blessed people that we have these options. So that's why with our freedom of speech, we can't just be followers. Like we have the FOIA requests, we have freedom of speech. We need to use that peacefully, legally, but like most people in the world don't have this stuff. They don't have the option to show corruption. They don't have opensecrets.org, which will tell you who's funding the politicians. Like that's such a blessing that most people don't use. When I point out Trump taking donor money, it's not to say Democrats aren't, because they are. But the thing is, it's like, this is a blessing. He's taking money from Miriam Adelson. They have to make it public. Trump took money from Pfizer. Trump takes money from these people. It's like, it's not to dunk on Trump and be like, screw him. The Democrats take even more money sometimes. But the thing is, like, look at the corporations Trump's taking money from. Look at the big donors. See what they want. This is all information that's public for us, to bless us to make better decisions, to be able to challenge our politicians more, not hate them, but challenge them and understand why they do what they do. Like if you take hundreds of millions of dollars from a donor who likes a foreign country, and then you're doing stuff for a foreign country, including passing speech laws for that foreign country, pardoning handlers for that foreign country, a foreign spy from that country who stole American secrets and sold them to Russia is flying home on your donor's jet. You're on a podcast saying that country should basically control our Congress. Dude, you don't even need a conspiracy theory. Like we're so blessed in America that we have information that most countries don't have access to. And it's just sitting there waiting for you to look at it and use your brain. You know what I'm saying? Of course, the politicians aren't going to tell you to look there. Of course, they're going to spend millions of dollars to stop you from looking there. But like when you say, what can we do about it? This is the exciting part about politics, not to be a doomer, not to be a pessimist, but to beat billions of dollars of propaganda. This is what drew me into this. It's like we're winning. We're beating CNN at their own game. We're beating, the people that are trying to stop us. We're winning. We're making progress, and we have. But Trump isn't all the progress. That's the difference between me and people. We've made progress, but Trump can't just sit there for 20 years and stop the progress and just turn into Lindsey Graham. Like the progress is also the Ron Pauls of the world, the Rand Pauls of the world, the Thomas Masseys of the world, Tucker Carlson is shifting. I'm not saying he's the first one. He's one of the last ones to shift, but like the progress is obvious. You look at Turning Point, a pro-Israel organization that basically, didn't even want to look at people that didn't worship Israel the same way they did as a nation and their government. And now you have their main speaker basically saying what everyone got blacklisted for saying 8 years ago. It's like the culture is changing, and it's not time to hate or anything. It's just time to make deals, in the sense of like, I'll just give you an example. I'm not going to say who, because I respect people's privacy, and I'll just be really vague. But like, I had a lot of people talk to me when I went to Turning Point this year of all different types. People like me, people that like all sorts of stuff. Most of it was amazing. But like someone was asking me, like, because they knew I was so early on this stuff, they're like, where do you think this all is going when it comes to the fact that the people that are questioning Israel is growing and growing? And the reason they all wanted to ask me is because they remember I was one of the first ones. I'm not the first one. I'm not taking credit for it. There were many before me that, and to be honest, I don't even want credit for this. It's just, it's not like something I'm proud of. It's just like, I noticed a lot of things a lot earlier than most mainstream Republicans, but they were asking me like, what do you think needs to happen? Or where is this going? And I told people, if it's true, the people are just going to keep figuring it out. So you can't beat the truth. You can't beat what's real. So what I told them is like, there's going to have to be some deals and compromises to be made, unless you just want to lose everybody and lose to socialists and progressives in the future, like Zorandi or, the Zoran, whatever his name is, Mamandi. But I'm sorry, I apologize, my guy, but I forget his name. I got to look it up. With that being said, I told them, I'm like, people are going to have to start making deals. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, let me give you one example. Here's a deal that I would like to make because I think it's really important. Get the speech laws out of the United States of America. There shouldn't be anti-Semitism hate speech laws in America. The IHRA international laws are ridiculous, or the definition of anti-Semitism. It's in Argentina, it's in England, it's in Canada, it's everywhere. It's annoying, it's stupid, it's anti-American, it's anti-constitutional, it's ridiculous, it's insane, and it shows how compromised government and Congress is. The fact that everybody's passing it, Chuck Schumer, Donald Trump, Kristi Noem, they're all doing it. They definitely, like, I don't know who Epstein worked for, but I have an idea, and it just seems to be the topic that no one makes sense on. And he's not the only one, because there's lobbyists too. But I told him, I'm like, listen, I'm in no position to make a deal because I'm pretty much a nobody in politics. Yes, I have a lot of influence. Yes, people trust and respect me. Yes, I've made an impact, but I'm not Trump. I'm not Mike Johnson. I'm not a big organization that has billions of dollars. So it's like people are like running to me wondering what's going on just because they know I know what's going on. But I told them, I'm right. This is true. It's just going to keep growing. So if you want people to get on your side again, you have to do something for my side. And it's not like it's my people and my side, because there's a lot of people on my side that I don't even agree with. But one way you can impress me is get the speech laws out of America. And if you can't do that, and not to say that this person that asked me was even in the position to do it, but I'm like, you can only ignore this for so long and have the majority on your side. Like, yeah, we're gonna pretend like one race, one religion, and one foreign country needs a bunch of definitions passed into American law that says you can't talk about banks and media, and you can't talk about this about Jesus, and you can't talk about dual loyalty. It's insane, and it's counterproductive, because not only is it anti-American, but also it's blowing the cover of the people that are not trying to be talked about. Like it's making it so obvious that you're trying to cover something up that it's only hurting you. Like, so I was like, I'm not in the position to make a compromise, and I'm not in a position to make a deal, but I'm a very rational person. It's not like I'm just going to sit here and talk to myself for the rest of my life. What do I want? I want tangible things. The first easiest one to accomplish, get the definition of anti-Semitism out of America. It's anti-American, it's ridiculous, and it's in so many ways just disgusting. Okay, do that. That's probably my number one. Other stuff is, I'm fine with having an alliance. I'm fine. And once again, not that I have any power to say anything, but this is just my opinion. I'm fine with being an ally of Israel. We're allies with Mexico. We're allies with Canada. We're allies with Germany. It doesn't mean we just do whatever they say constantly and never question them. But here's the thing. I don't even need to do anything because it's already happening. Look at Mike Huckabee. Mike Huckabee is one of the most pro-Israel Christians you'll ever see. Even he's starting to question it because they're attacking Christians in Gaza. And they don't care, and they'll just call you blood libel or anti-Semitism if you talk about it. 7 years ago, you're the only one talking about it. Now, Mike Huckabee will probably be accused of blood libel, because blood libel is essentially any time you say that race, that religion, or that country did something on purpose. They don't want to take accountability for anything they've ever done, and you're not allowed to ever say they've ever done anything wrong. So it's blood libel if you suggest they ever shot at a church on purpose. They're the most moral military in the world who's never made a mistake. And if you ever say they did something purposely, that's blood libel. Really? I could say about my own government, that's not blood libel, but it is when I talk about you. So even Mike Huckabee is pretty much doing blood libel now, because he's like, hey, we protect Americans of every ethnicity overseas. And if Israel's going to attack any American overseas, we're going to look into it. Well, that's blood libel when someone else says it. So good luck, Mike Huckabee. But I'm not even worried about saying or doing anything, because what I'm talking about is true, and people can lie about it all they want, but it's not going anywhere because it's real. So it's like, we need an alliance, or we can have an alliance with that country, but it's got to be fair. It's got to be a fair alliance. They can't just be shooting at churches and calling you anti-Semitic and passing speech laws in my country. That's not fair. Why don't here would be a fair speech law. I'm not for speech laws, but let's just say we want a fair alliance. In America, we passed the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. And in Israel, we passed the definition of anti-Americanism. And they can't talk about America in certain ways. They can't say America does things wrong. We could have a Jesus law in there too. They can't blaspheme Jesus. Let's pass some Christian American laws in Israel, and then we'll pass the Jewish Israeli laws in America. That's a fair alliance. But when only one country is passing hate speech laws, while we get accused of hate speech for talking about what they're doing to churches sometimes, it's not a fair alliance. So I'm not a crazy person. I'm not extreme. I don't hate Israel. I don't hate any group. I like every culture and religion and race. I just don't want to live in every country. And I have nothing against Uganda, but you can't convince me we need an alliance with them or else I'm anti-Ugandan. What does that even mean? Like, that's not true. I don't hate any country. I don't hate any group of people. I was at the airport the other day and this guy's like looking at me in line. It's this big. I mean, I'm just going to be clear. Not that I care, but I get recognized a lot, so I can kind of tell when people are looking at me. And he had a like American hat on. It was this big black dude, right? He was like 6'5" or something, and he's looking at me in the line a little bit. And I'm just doing my thing. And he walks up to me after I go through the security check, and he's got like a deep accent. He goes, "Anomaly, I'm a big fan." And I'm like, "Dude, that's so sick." And I was like, "Where are you from?" And he said, "Nigeria." I was like, that's super base. Like, that's awesome that people listen to Nigeria. I think he moved to America, but he identified as a Nigerian, even though he's here now. And he was just like so pumped to see me. And I was like, that's so dope. Like, I don't care about labels anymore, but it's like people could say that I feel certain ways, but I know I speak clearly and people around the world can hear what I'm saying and they know my intentions and they know that I'm just being honest and not hateful. So it's like, none of these journalists or propagandists have really been able to, convince people otherwise. Of course, some people will not like what I'm saying, but it's like, you could say, I hate that country or I hate these people. I don't hate any country. I don't hate any race. I would tell you if I do. Some people do. Some people are hateful. It's not me. But there's a difference between hate and honesty. I don't hate any race, but I notice statistics, demographics. I notice crime rates. I notice, a lot, hypocrisy when certain people want something for their ethnicity, but I'm not allowed to have it for my ethnicity, or others are not allowed to have it for their ethnicity. I notice a pattern of immigration and what countries and who wants certain people to go where and why. I notice all of it. I am a pattern recognizing, like I just, that's intelligence. Like Bobby Fischer and Kasparov, it's like they're not hateful. They're just really smart at recognizing patterns. That's what makes them a good chess player. And it's funny that Bobby Fischer was considered very anti-Semitic in his time, even though he was half Jewish, and he's had some pretty wild rants that did not get him a lot of favor in America. And then Kasparov ended up being a super liberal. He's like a pro Ukraine war libtard kind of, which is, it's like, I'm sure his IQ is massively high, and I'm sure he has some like ethnic bias as well because he's Russian, but they ended up on different sides of the political space. I mean, I don't know if I would say different sides because it's not really a left or right thing, but I guess I don't know. It's just an interesting fact about some of the best pattern recognizers of our time. They ended up in different spots, and I guess that's everyone can interpret things differently. But yeah, it's like we can have an ally and we can love people, but that doesn't mean we need to be taken advantage of and play stupid. It's not hateful to just be dumb. Even during like the vaccine mandate, the news told us that Israel was facing a very heavy vaccine mandate. And all of these pro-Israel Christian Zionist Republicans that take so much money from Jewish organizations and everything on their Israel, they said nothing for the Israelis when they were facing vaccine mandates. If you really cared about Israelis, like actually cared about them and not just wanted to make money off them, you would speak up and be like, hey, Netanyahu, maybe you should lay off the vaccine mandates a little bit. They said nothing. And even in America, half of them said nothing here. This is why I don't hate, but I strongly dislike Republicans because they're fake opposition. Yes, I don't like Democrats. Yes, they're evil. Yes, they're liars. Yes, they're horrible. But the Republicans are supposed to come to our rescue because they're the only other option, and they constantly do nothing. They're the ultimate skeezers. It's like, you think you like Jewish people and Israelis more than me because you stand on a stage in front of them, suck up a bunch of donor money, and then do stuff for their government and just leave the people out to dry when the government's being corrupt? No, you're not helping them. It's just like you're actually hurting them because you're incentivizing delusion. You know what I'm saying? It would be like if I said, I love this race, and I think it's okay that they're in this horrible position and it's just the way it is. That's not a good friend. A good friend would be like, listen, it's time to get it going. It's time to be better. And I noticed that about certain groups in America as well. I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday, and I've talked about it on my stream before, but I think it's like, in certain ethnicities and certain countries and certain cultures, they police their own kids. Like if a kid does something crazy bad, the police will do something, but they don't even really need to because the parents will be right on it. The media doesn't need to talk about it because the parents are just as pissed off as everybody else that the crime was committed. And then there's other groups that they gatekeep their own failures. They gatekeep their failures. They gatekeep their poverty. They gatekeep their crimes. And when people talk about their crimes, they get mad and say it's racist for noticing. It's like, not only are you not policing your own kids, but you're mad that other people want to. Like we don't all want to live in communities that crime is rampant. You could drive through any state in America, visit some towns, and it's beautiful. And there's no bars on the windows, and it's clean and it's safe. And it's like, yeah, this is where I'd want to live. And then you go to another one and it looks like you're in a jail cell. There's bars in all the windows. The streets are disgusting. The corner stores have locks on them. People are threatening people every day. And it looks insane. It's like, yeah, I want to live in the nice neighborhood. Doesn't make me hateful, but the reason that's happening in these other bad neighborhoods is because they don't police their own. They're more mad. Like someone like a LeBron, it's like, why doesn't he talk about the crimes in his group's neighborhood and then be like, yeah, we got to get it together? He did it one time. I think he deleted it. But then if you talk about it, they'll just say you're racist. It's like, you actually hate people more than me because you're acting like this is okay and this is normal, when in reality, it's driving good people out of the neighborhood. It's driving businesses out of the neighborhood. It's profoundly unfair to children. You know, when I used to go to Brooklyn and I had a friend who lived in a bad neighborhood, you know, a lot of the kids that were like in high school, middle school and stuff, they used to just like roam the streets, skateboard, do all sorts of stuff. And, you know, I would feel bad for him because it's like, this guy's got an alcoholic father. This kid's got to walk to school every day and there's gunshots going around. Like if you have any ounce of humanity for the children who don't deserve this, or the women who don't deserve this, or the guys who don't deserve this who are older, you know, I'm not going to discriminate based on age. You would want to stop the crime in this neighborhood. Like they shouldn't have to walk to school with gunshots, and everybody shouldn't know somebody in a school. If you've ever gone to a bad area and you go to the school, there's a memorial in the school of all the kids that have been killed. You go to a nice neighborhood, there's no memorial because no kids are being killed. You know, it's like, it's a different planet. And either you want to fix it or you want to gatekeep it and act like it's normal and act like everybody who doesn't want it is so bad. And it's like, you have two options. Either you move the hell away and get somebody where that's not normal, or you try to fix it. But when you try to fix it, you realize that you can't help people that don't want to help themselves. And the reason I went on this whole rant is I believe that's why. I think there's a lot of factors, but culture and just, do you want that to happen or do you not? And as a collective, if you gatekeep that, talk about it and act like it's normal, then it will be your normal. But if you police each other and make sure that it's not, then it won't be. And if you travel the world, there's some countries, they just don't have order, you know, for whatever reason. It's like driving is crazy. They have no order on the roads. Like the signs don't even really mean anything. People are just doing all sorts of crazy moves on the roads. You look at how they just don't have law or order. You know, a lot of libertarians and anarchists like me because I tell the truth about Republicans and I'm an honest person. So I have a big libertarian fan base, but I'm really not a libertarian. No offense to libertarians. I get it. I understand it. I don't hate you or anything, but I believe in law and order. I just believe in moral law and order. And I think whether it's the government or militias or someone needs to, like, if your nation's not moral, it doesn't matter if there's no government or a huge government. And, you know, that's why I understand why libertarians think the way they do, because you go to a bad neighborhood with 50 police and it's still better to go to a nice neighborhood with 0 police. So it's like the police help sort of, but you can't stop the culture necessarily. You can only just make it better. And like Dubai is an extreme example where the penalties are so severe, people just stop doing theft, which is the route you have to go if people can't act right normally. But I'm libertarian when it comes to taxes. I'm libertarian when it comes to a lot of things, but I'm really not a libertarian. I feel like I believe in law and order, and someone has to do it. And if it's not the government, it's going to be someone else. And if you don't have a big force in the ground, then some cartel or some group is going to take over. So that's just human nature. But I think morality is possible through government. But America, even though it was built on law and order, it was built on liberty principles. So America's the perfect fusion of like, we're not anarchists, but at the same time, we're not communists. We're not, you know, we ran away from that. So, you know, the founding fathers, I'm not to compare myself to them, but like, I feel like they thought like me. They were like, yeah, we believe in a lot of libertarian principles. We understand the value of liberty between us and the government. But at the same time, we have a government. And at the same time, we have these rules, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, to try to keep the government moral. And a lot of the ways that America got away from morality is not only through mass immigration, but also just getting away from the Constitution. Every couple decades, someone will come along and be like, I know better than the Constitution. This is racist. This means that. This means this. And I understand that some things were flawed, but I feel like a lot of the things that people came along and did, like, it didn't age well. Like, it's like, we believe in feminism. We think women should do this and that and this. And now it's like women are just like driving themselves crazy. They all vote Democrat. They're, just doing so much that they're not being mothers. And I'm not blaming women. I'm just saying it's like women didn't start working just to be independent. They started working because the bankers sent the men to war and they needed somebody to run the factories. Like they didn't go for moral reasons. It was just like, we need, just what women do. It's like they get the job done. Women hustle, women work, women do what they need to do. But it would be nice if they didn't need to do so much because it's stressful. And I'm sure, it's like working in a factory probably wasn't as fun as like raising your kids. But what do I know? Not blaming anybody. I'm just saying, like, a lot of the people who came along and were like, we need to do this and this and this and this. It's like, not every time. Sometimes it was in a good direction, but I feel like most of the times we were lied to. Income tax, horrible. Property tax, insane. Every tax raise, not good. Every, like, we need to do this war for this reason, probably a lie, but whatever. Let's read some comments, and then I'm going to try to keep this under an hour 30. Someone said, how the government got there morally was through God. That's another thing too, for sure. It was all based on religion. People don't want to think that, but they were like, yeah, religious freedom, but at the same time, these are our values. This is our backbone. And once we lost that backbone, we lost the country, and it's not surprising. But, anything can happen. Nations have fallen, nations have risen, nations have gone, nations have come. It's never over till it's over. So I'm not pessimistic, but it's like, it's definitely a good time for people to be paying attention and shifting in the right direction, which they're doing. So, that's another thing with Trump is like, he's the president for the next 2 years. So I'm praying for him and I'm rooting for him, but it's like, he's almost like a net negative to our movement now because he's just like such a showman. He's so goofy. He's always doing weird stuff. And he's not even that conservative. So it's like, if Trump was goofy, but he was also doing a lot, then it's like, whatever. But it's like, he's like, Lindsey Graham, don't talk about Epstein. Thomas Massey sucks. Like, I'm sorry, but my thought of the future of the Republican Party is more Thomas Massey's and Ron Paul's, not less. We could have Trumps and JD Vances too, and Marjorie Taylor Greenes and stuff. But like, I don't think the future is ousting Thomas Massey and endorsing Lindsey Graham. So it's like, Trump's not even a good leader anymore. He's the president. I pray for him. I'm rooting for him. But he's not a good leader of our movement. He's not the savior of our country. He's not going to do that much. He's not the future. Like so many Republicans, they just love Trump land, Trumpy Wumpy, Trump world. It's Disney Trump land. They're all dressed up as Trump. It's like a giant, party that they never want to end, but it's just not that great of a party. So at the end of the day, like I really hope that, there's going to be a power void after Trump, and I'm sure he's going to try to hand it to somebody shitty. Like that's probably what's going to happen next. When Trump stops running for office, whenever he isn't allowed to, or he stops, he's going to endorse somebody, and it's probably going to be somebody crappy. Trump, hopefully it's somebody not crappy and like reasonable, but it's like there's going to be a moment where MAGA and the Republican movement and libertarians and conservatives and independents and honest liberals need to wake up and choose the right path. It's not Trump. Trump is not the path. He was a sideshow. He was a spectacle. He sold some vaccines. He deported some people. He shook hands with Kim Jong-un. He sent some money to Israel and Ukraine. It was a show. Trump is a fascinating guy. He's one of the most interesting people in modern history, but he's not the solution for American, like the future of America. And I feel like a lot of Republicans are just not ready to like give up their Trumpy Wumpy doll. And I just, that's why politics, it's interesting, but it's like, what's going to be really interesting is what move people make next. And if they're willing to admit, like if they're willing to stop playing this like dumb worship game, I don't know. Only time will tell. Someone said it's a big list and we ain't on it. Yeah, for sure. Congrats on not being on the Epstein list. It's good for you. It's a good look. Someone said shook hands with an Al-Qaeda terrorist. I haven't made a full video about it, so I'll talk now. I mean, that's one of the craziest things that's happened under the radar. A former Al Qaeda guy runs Syria now, and America and the West is happy about it because they were working alongside Al Qaeda essentially to overthrow Bashar al-Assad. So literally, our whole life is a lie. They said Al Qaeda did 9/11. We have to go fight Al Qaeda. 10 years later, we kill 3 different leaders who had nothing to do with Al Qaeda. We killed Soleimani, who was fighting Al Qaeda and ISIS, and then we planted or helped plant an Al Qaeda guy in Syria. And here's the craziest angle of this is like all the Zionists who have no idea that all happened. They're like, why doesn't Candace Owens and these people talk about Syria? It's like, you don't even know America and Israel were behind this new leader. I have videos from 2017, myself, Tulsi Gabbard, Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Jimmy Dore. I'm not asking you to, like, these are just people I remember questioning this stuff. Paul Joseph Watson at the time. We all didn't like the fact that Syria was being overthrown. So how are the people that didn't care that Syria is overthrown and support the people who overthrew Syria, now they think they have the moral high ground in Syria? Hey, why don't you talk about this? I've been talking about it since 2017. I knew this was all going to happen because it's the same story over and over. America and our allies overthrow a country because we can't control the leader. We plant some rebel or terrorist in the country, and that rebel or terrorist does what rebel or terrorist does, which is no law, no order, chaos, and the persecution of minorities. So whether it's the Druze, whether it's the Christians, whether it's the Muslim, you can't just put a terrorist rebel leader as the leader of a country. But that's all we do, because the terrorist rebel leaders are actually working alongside of the United States of America. And it sounds crazy. And I used to just think it and not talk about it that much because I like to provide evidence. All the evidence we need is there to see that that's true. So if Republican boomers actually gave a shit about this country, they would be like, Al Qaeda did 9/11 and we planted an Al Qaeda guy in Syria. And that would piss them off because that would mean thousands of Americans died to essentially plant the people who did it in that country. That should piss people off. And I'm not asking people to be angry, but 9/11, like if you're not going to be upset over 9/11, what are you going to be upset about? We got thousands of Americans killed, including people that I know and their family members. Yet no Republican boomer talks about this because they're being brainwashed. I'm sorry, it's not just the boomers. It's any Republican that's paying attention to Trump or Republican media, but and believing everything. It's like they brainwashed you to go to the Middle East. They brainwashed you into saying anybody who disagrees is a terrorist. They brainwashed you with this. They brainwashed you with that. And now that they did their job, they're not going to wake you up from the programming and be like, hey, did you not notice that the group we said did 9/11 is now basically running Syria, or at least one of their members is? You didn't, like, that's like not a small, it's not a small part of the story. It's like a huge part of this. Like, it's such a big part of the story. It's literally crazy. I could talk about it for 30 minutes. Yet they don't know. The same people that cared so much about Al Qaeda, now they don't care about Al Qaeda. That's why I say I don't do it to seem like I'm even keeled or seem like I'm a centrist. I'm not a centrist. I'm just an honest person. Republicans are just as brainwashed as Democrats. Like you laugh. How could a Democrat think that? How could they not figure it out? How could the same boomers that were on a quest to go find Al Qaeda for 10 years not realize that Trump's shaking hands with a former Al Qaeda member in Syria? And they purposely destabilized it for Israel versus Iran. And that's why I don't even need to know that much to tell you that I could pretty much figure out why Trump caved on Ukraine. Trump basically works for Israel. Ukraine fighting Russia hurts Russia. Russia being hurt hurts Syria. Russia being hurt, not helping Syria, helped an Al Qaeda guy take over Syria. An Al Qaeda guy taking over Syria helps Israel because now Bashar al-Assad doesn't own it and he's not going to work with the groups that they don't like. That's why Trump's not going to turn on Zelensky. Trump has the same handlers that Zelensky has. Trump says Zelensky doesn't have the cards. Trump doesn't have the cards. Trump has the cards for the media to trick his base with the WWE show. Trump has no cards. He supports and basically works for a country that needs to weaken Russia versus Ukraine. And no offense, but they see it as a double win. They see it as we can weaken that country. We can help ourselves against Iran. And also we could screw up some of the only, Christian conservative still Caucasian parts of Europe that aren't being flooded with migrants. And we could kill those people there and we could flood Europe and America with more migrants. It's like a win-win-win. They're like, let's do all this. Oh, wow, what a nice ally. And I know you're not supposed to say that, but you could find a Wall Street Journal op-ed Google or look up a Wall Street Journal op-ed written by members of the Likud party, literally foreign government people, wrote an op-ed in Wall Street Journal, which is one of the most prominent Republican journals or conservative-leaning journals. And they said, why doesn't America and Europe take the refugees from Palestine? They already took them from the other wars, and they tried to convince Republicans through Republican papers to just take more refugees. Hey, we'll bomb a bunch of women and children. We'll say it's blood libel if you say we're doing it. And then all the people that don't want to live there because we're just slaughtering civilians, they can just flood your country. Since your country's already flooded, oh, what a great ally. Oh, what a nice ally. You think I would write an op-ed in Israel and be like, why don't you take a bunch of our migrants? Or why don't we ship a bunch of illegals to your... No, of course, I would never do that because I don't hate them, you know? But it seems like they hate me. Seems like they hate us. But you're not allowed to notice that they hate us. What else would it be if you're lobbying to basically destroy a nation with the refugees that you say they're terrorists? You say they're all complicit with Hamas, and you want them in America and Europe because they don't give a shit about us. And I'm telling you, I don't care what it is or how long it takes. Mike Huckabee's going to figure this out. Any Republican is going to be figure this out. You understand? Everyone's going to figure this out because it's literally the truth. So with Russia and Ukraine, they're going to create a bunch of refugees. They're going to screw up Europe a bit more. They're going to weaken Russia. They're going to weaken Syria. They basically got Syria or got a puppet installed in Syria. And then, you know, it also weakens Iran, but it also double dips where it not only weakens these countries, but it creates a refugee crisis that's going to destroy Europe and destroy America. And I'm sorry, but some people want that to happen. They don't like you. They don't like your ethnicity. They don't like your religion. They don't like you. They don't want you to be strong and powerful because as soon as you realize what's going on, it's going to be too late. And when it's too late, you're screwed and they win and you lose. So that's what it's about. I've known this for years now. And, you know, it's just the truth. You don't see me writing op-eds being like, hey, let's flood Germany with immigrants. Let's flood Morocco with immigrants. Let's flood Israel with people that aren't like Israeli. Like they would hate that. But I'm not allowed to dislike that when it's in my publications and my papers in America from foreign government agents, essentially trying to trick my political party into taking the refugees that they just told us are all terrorists. Why would we want to do that? And no disrespect to the people there. I don't think they're all terrorists. I'm just saying, at the same time that I don't think they're all terrorists, we just funded what I would consider a genocide of their people. Literally, they're just trying to kill a lot of people, in my opinion, and take the land. I don't use the term genocide liberally because it's overused, but it's like that is the closest one I've seen in this world so far. And there's other genocides going on too that you're not allowed to talk about, which is just the complete demographic removal of nations, which is not happening randomly. It's purposeful. So it's like all the ones that are happening in the modern era, you're not supposed to talk about. And there's all these roadblocks to tell you not to talk about them. But then they want to flood people in our country that we've just literally supplied their destruction. They're going to hate us. It would be shocking if they didn't. I appreciate it if they don't because it's not all of us. And most people in America don't support that. But we have no control over our government. We can't vote our way out of it. There's no option. Trump is the outsider, and he thinks that country should literally own our Congress. Biden funds them. Trump funds them. Biden funds Ukraine. Trump funds Ukraine. We can't vote our way out of it. So, you know, it's like the sooner people figure this out, the sooner there's some sort of progress in America. And it is being figured out because it's true. And the crazier things get, the more obvious it's going to get. So it's like transgender sports. At first, nobody wanted to talk about it, but then people were like, yeah, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. This is crazy. Like, you know, you got some kid like beating up my girl in basketball, and the left went too far and they didn't make sense. And if they would have just said, hey, everyone can choose to be who they want to be as adults and do what they want, people would probably have ignored it. But if you're like, actually, I think your daughter should get destroyed in volleyball by this like dude, it's like, yeah, now people are pissed off, you know? So it's the same with this topic. Like only time will tell because it's just true. Like I'm not sitting here making things up, you know? It's like, and if I'm making them up, then nobody will care. If they're true, it's only going to get more popular over time. And what people are asking for is just a fair relationship. You know, I don't want my country flooded with refugees that you don't want. I don't want you to bomb a bunch of people and then send them and write an op-ed in Wall Street Journal saying we should take them. I don't want to hurt Ukraine or Russia. I don't think it's awesome that, you know, Europe is basically being destroyed. I don't want to fund every war that you ever fight. And I think this is an opinion too. A lot of people think, you know, if we just help Israel beat Iran, then all the wars will end because Iran's the bad person and Israel's the great person, and then it's all going to be good. I'm not saying Iran is great, and I'm not saying it, like, I'm not saying who's good or bad, because only God knows, and I'm not sitting here trying to judge them. But in general, I don't believe, even if Israel beat Iran somehow, which it's like there's 90 something million people there. Like it's not, you don't want to destabilize Iran. It'll be insane. But in general, I don't think Israel's ever going to stop. That's my opinion. I mean, I'd love to be proven wrong, but it's like, it's always going to be someone with them. That's my opinion. I think they're never going to stop. I think they're always going to fight somebody. And there's never going to be a time when like we don't want to beef with our neighbors anymore. And I'm not saying it's just them. They chose to go to the Middle East. They chose to, post up shop in Palestine and take it and steal it. And they're choosing to live around a bunch of people and cultures that are, unstable and crazy. It would be like if I wanted to just go pilgrim in Africa and I just like popped in the middle of like Mozambique and I'm like, yep, this is my country now. You could do it, but it's like, I don't think it's going to be crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like there's rebel groups in Africa. There's all sorts of stuff going on in Africa. It's a crazy place. Middle East is crazy. It's not Israel's fault, but I don't buy this narrative of like, oh, they're the most peaceful, moral people. When they win, it'll all stop. They build great. They have a really nice cities and they're really smart people, but I don't think they're ever going to stop personally. And I don't think their neighbors are ever going to stop. And, I'm not pointing the blame at one or the other, but I don't see them as the group of people that's going to stop doing stuff. So how long are we going to do this? How long is America going to be involved? How many soldiers does it cost? How many refugees do we need? How much does America need to be destroyed in order to help a country that will literally never stop fighting? I don't know. But I think more and more Americans are going to want to just be like, listen, good luck. God bless you. We'll be an ally, but we can't be an ally that literally destroys ourselves in order to slightly help you, but it's not even really helping because you're only making more people not like you over time. And, even if you're the most pro-Israel person in the world, you have to admit in the last 2 years, there's been a massive public shift. And this is not to give Hamas any sort of pass on what they did. They did a lot of evil. They're doing bad stuff. There's atrocities that were committed, and they're bad on all sides. I'm not sitting here picking sides. I'm just saying Israel's response to that, regardless of what you believe, is what made people not like them. It was like when Israel just kind of played low key, people were like, yeah, I don't really notice them because they're a small country. Now that they've kind of asserted themselves as like, they're being more outspoken, they're saying what they're doing, people are watching what they're doing, most people are not impressed. So it's like, it's not anyone else saying anything about them, it's their own actions. And I'm not trying to be rude because this applies to everybody, but I feel like their culture is to take no accountability. Even though they're very successful, smart people, they build, they create high IQ, like good, great civilization. I'm not knocking the country of Israel at all, but it's like the accountability is just not there. I could say Trump sold vaccines purposely. That's not blood libel because Trump is, a Gentile. I can't say Israel ever did anything wrong, or you call it blood libel, and all your organizations around the world are like, blood libel, blood libel. Let's just write articles about this person. Let's hate this person. It's just wreaking no accountability. Like I talk about my own race, my own religion, my own country all the time. Nobody accuses me of blood libel. It's like a word that they have that just means people are saying that they're doing stuff that they don't want to say they're doing. And I'm sure people historically said things that weren't true because people lie all the time. Of course, that's true. But it's not blood libel to say that you killed civilians. You are killing civilians, So you want to just yell at the whole world all the time who doesn't like what you're doing. Every day, it just makes more people not like them. It's like in my opinion, they're not the most moral military. I don't think that at all. I think they're so ethnic. They're so, and this is not to say that other countries are not doing this because I have no idea what else is going on. But I think they're so ethnocentric and they're so into themselves that they don't even view other countries. Like they don't care about other countries at all. They care about other countries as much as they care about animals. And their actions show that. Like I think America, even though we are messed up in many ways, I think our military, there's consequences. Like if our military does some sort of drone strike and kills hundreds of people, it's looked down upon in our country. I mean, I'm not saying everybody is held accountable, but it's like, it's not popular. In Israel, it's like they'll just shoot people in line waiting for food and then say it's blood libel to talk about it. Like they have like they don't care. And America doesn't believe in that at all, but we have to just say we believe in it or else everybody gets mad at us. So it's like their military operates in one of the most insane ways I've ever seen in my life. Like I not only do I not think they're the most moral military, I think they're one of the craziest. But I'm not fighting their battles. They have a right to defend their nation and do what they think is best. And I have a right to say what I think is best for my nation. So I'm not hating on them, but it's like, you can't just keep doing that and expect people to like it. Like you can only scream anti-Semitic and blood libel so much. Like what would make people like you more is not being insane, not being like, well, because this atrocity happened, all these people are held accountable, but these standards also don't apply to us, but they apply to them. It's like the double standards, the hypocrisy, the lack of humanity, the selfishness, the ethnocentricity while denying everybody else that same right, the recklessness of what they're willing to shoot. Like you don't just shoot a church by mistake. You understand what I'm saying? You know, like that church is like one of the most famous churches in Palestine, and they talk directly to the Vatican. It's one of the most famous churches. I'm sorry, but dude, they got so much technology with all of their weapons, with all of their military stuff. You don't just by a mistake nearly knock down the cross and injure a bunch of people in the church. Like I don't believe that's a mistake. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm not trying to make my whole life dependent on it, but it's like, imagine if somebody did that to one of their religious facilities. Do you think they would just be okay with it? Of course not. And here's a sick part about humanity too that I'm just disgusted by. I don't care what religious facility it is. I don't want anyone to do that to anybody in any religion. It's like Muslims care about Muslims. Christians wake up and they're like, they did it to a Christian. Does that mean if they killed a bunch of Muslim kids, you wouldn't care? That's sick to me. You know what I'm saying? That's sickening. It's sick to see that people, like, I'm Christian, but I don't just care when something happens to a Christian. Like any woman or child is sick, and guy, I don't know. It's just all disgusting to me. So I just don't think these things are random. I think they get away with whatever they want. They keep getting funding and they don't feel any need to like stop doing it whatsoever. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't agree with it. And I guess what the whole reason I even brought this up is what I'm trying to say is, even if you disagree with me at all fronts, the truth is people really don't like this. And the PR for Israel has been horrible. Even like, I follow a lot of friends on Twitter that are like in the Zionist crowd of like James Lindsay and, that crowd. And it's like, even objectively, right? I could listen to like a Gavin Newsom interview and be like, I don't like Gavin Newsom. I don't trust him. But his propaganda is decent. It's not the best I've ever seen, but like Zohran, his propaganda was extraordinary. I don't like Zohran. I don't like communism. I don't like socialism. I think he's a shit lib, and I think he's going to make New York worse. But his propaganda was phenomenal as far as like convincing wise, right? That's why he won the election. I don't like Zohran at all. I think he's terrible, but he's convincing. Dude, Israel's PR is just terrible. It's not only that I don't agree with it, it's just like the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like literally, if I wanted to, I could probably sit down and think of ways to like actually convince people that you're right. But they have such little self-awareness and such little self-accountability that their PR is just like a 1 out of 10. Like I remember when James Lindsay tweeted something about like, yeah, if they go after Epstein and he did work for Israel, people it's going to be worse than the George Floyd riots. And I'm like, bro, that's the dumbest propaganda I've ever seen. You're basically like saying that the big scoop is not if Jeffrey Epstein works for Israel. The big scoop is that if they reveal that Jeffrey Epstein worked for Israel, the real tragedy is going to be the fact that it's going to get worse than George Floyd. First of all, I don't believe that. I don't believe it's going to get worse than George Floyd if Epstein stuff is revealed. I would hope not. I mean, the George Floyd riots were insane. I don't wish that on anyone for any reason ever. Like, never do I want to see that happen in the streets again. But I don't even understand why he thinks that would happen if it's revealed that Epstein works for Israel. He thinks a bunch of people are just going to destroy shops and stuff and just go crazy in the streets. Like, it doesn't even make sense to me. But, I mean, like, that's just dumb. It's just like a dumb thing to say. It's like, can't you be pro-Israel and not say the dumbest thing I've ever heard? But they just keep saying the dumbest things I've ever heard. There's an audience who agrees with that, but it's not that big anymore, and it's just getting smaller. So I just don't understand what they're going for or why, but I guess that's what happens when you fall so far into your own BS that you can't get out. It already happened to liberals. Like liberals did that and Democrats did that for so long. And this is the frightening part about it, is now the Zohran Mamandis are starting to take over because the Andrew Cuomos blew it. And this is what Republicans really need to figure out. Like the Zohrans they might take over the Democratic Party. There's a lot of resistance, but it's like the Andrew Cuomos, they're done. You know, the Nancy Pelosi's only have so long left. And Republicans are going to lose if they try to go the route of like boomer Lindsey Graham. The boomers are boomered out, but boomers will vote for a Republican over a Democrat anyway. So it's like if you rig your whole party to please the donors and the boomers brainwashed by the donors in the media, you're going to lose the independents. You're going to lose the Elon Musk crowd. You're already losing the Joe Rogan crowd. You're losing the Andrew Schultz crowd. You're losing the Theo Vaughn crowd. You're losing me. You're losing independents. You're losing libertarians. You're losing rational people. I'm not going to go vote for a Democrat, but an election is a game of margins. A Zohran is going to beat a boomer Trump in 4 or 5 years, 10 years, you know? So these boomer donor sucking organizations need to really think about this stuff, because the same way you're like, what do you want that? No, but that will beat a boomer Trump that's not Trump. That will beat a Lindsey Graham. So you have to get somebody more like Thomas Massey. Even JD Vance, I don't trust him because he's tied into the donors, but like he's kind of likable. You know what I'm saying? Find somebody like him that's like can play with both sides, but at the same time isn't so like Fox News boomered out. Like that works for that crowd really well. But for the average person, it's like the average person thinks there's a genocide in Gaza. The average person doesn't think it's smart that Trump arrests people on a college campus because they're critical of Israel, even if they never committed a crime. The average person doesn't think that Epstein is a Democrat hoax. I did another video on that, but I just want to go over it real briefly, and then I'm probably going to end this pretty soon, maybe read a question or two. Republicans and libertarians and patriots and Trump supporters and, you know, like, I don't even know if I'd say moderates, but independents, we were the ones who cared about Epstein, okay? It was a Republican journalist who brought up Epstein to Trump. It's not Democrats, okay? Democrats would have never talked about Epstein again. They don't care. It's only a Trump talking point for them. They never wanted disclosure. They just wanted to talk about Trump, okay? So it was always a right-wing thing, which is good to the independents. A lot of independents, a lot of people on the internet, they do care about Epstein, and it's impressive to see a political party actually care about it. Trump, by not doing anything and then saying it's a Democrat thing, he's basically like handing it over to them. Like, you take credit for this. He's giving credit away from his reporters, his influencers, his support, his political party, his people, something that most people are interested in. And then he hands it to the Democrats like they did it. It's like, not only is that such an unforced error, it's not true. Nobody believes it's a Democrat hoax. Like, very few people are that stupid. The only people I see saying that it's a panicking are people that are just like, you know, political, basically like activists / people who just like live in Washington and try to suck up money. Like, no normal person actually believes that besides the boomer class. And then it's like you're giving them credit for it. You're floundering on the issue. And even Rasmussen, who I believe is like a pretty pro-Trump poll, they said he lost 19 points. 19 points with independents. What are you doing, Trump? Like, you don't even have to disclose the files to not lose 19 points. It's just he's such an idiot sometimes. Like, you're giving credit to the left for something your supporters brought up and now giving them the moral high ground on a topic that everybody knows is bullshit. It's the ultimate conspiracy theory that everyone knows is not a conspiracy theory. Literally, probably less than 10% of the population thinks he actually killed himself. And now that 10% is Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. It's embarrassing. But, you know, I get it. They got to do what they're doing. They gave us the footage with 3 minutes missing. Hey, here's a crime that was committed, guys. But when the guy ran away, I just don't have the footage. So you can just stare at a wall for 15 hours. But when the escape actually happened, there's no footage. So this proves it. Crazy stuff, folks. All right, let me read one or two more. Watch Mark Levin. Watch Mark Levin now, and Mark Levin will tell you why you shouldn't care that much about Jeffrey Epstein. I might as well just listen to Jeffrey Epstein live from Antarctica talk about why we shouldn't care about Jeffrey Epstein. Hey, guys, live on Fox News is Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. They flew to Antarctica, and then they're flying to Tel Aviv next to do a broadcast to say why you shouldn't think about them that much anymore. It's like, I'm exaggerating, but you get what I'm saying? It's like, dude, let's listen to Comey about why we shouldn't care about the deep state. Let's listen to Lindsey Graham about why we should support Ukraine. let's listen to Mark Levin about why we should just ignore that topic. It's like, and then Trump's tweeting it out. Trump is so embarrassing. I'm grateful that I saw this in like 2019 and just started being honest about it, because it's like, if I still really like Trump, and people still get mad at me because I voted for him, I don't care. But it's like, if I like obsessed over Trump the same way I probably did in like 2017 and the way people still do, I would be embarrassed. Like he's embarrassing. Like, even as a registered Republican who voted for him, it is embarrassing. It's like, come on, bro. Like, I don't want to watch Mark Levin, talk about Epstein. That's like the dumbest thing. But anyway, appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. I'll be back soon. I definitely have some ideas and stuff that I got to bring to fruition. And I apologize for not doing a lot of videos during the Epstein stuff. I was traveling a little bit. And of course, every time I travel, something crazy happens. And I'm like, damn it. But I just didn't feel like doing a video. So appreciate you guys. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. If you want to check out all my links, it's dreamrarelinks.com. And dreamrare.com is my shop. But really, just stay tuned on social media. I got an Instagram. I got a Twitter. I got a Facebook. I got everything, I guess, except for like a LinkedIn. I don't have a LinkedIn. And speaking of LinkedIn style businesses, that Coldplay thing was really funny with the CEO. Some people were like, here's why that's a psyop. I'm like, maybe. I didn't watch the video because I don't care enough, but it was like, that was a whole funny moment. Was it real? Can we not have anything? Can we just not have a good CEO cheating on his wife moment for everybody to laugh at and think is ridiculous? No, that's got to be a psyop too. They're like, he was secretly. I don't know what it is. Maybe it was for PR. Maybe it was for promo. I literally don't know. But it's one of those theories that I just don't care about. Like, I'm not giving 5 minutes of my time, because even if it were true, I just don't care enough to like. It's not going to change my day. But appreciate you guys. God bless you. Have a good one. I'll be back with more soon.